News Services Division of All India Radio presents Northeast Diary. Good evening. Welcome to this edition of Northeast Diary. Here we bring you the latest developments from India's unexplored Northeast region. Autumn is beginning to give way to winter in most parts of the Northeast region. Today we will talk about the iconic Shillong Wine Festival that made a return this year after the COVID pandemic. We will also go over to Sikkim, where the colourful festival of Labab Dyuchen was celebrated recently. Union Secretary of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare Manoj Ahuja visited Nagaland on the 12th and 13th of this month. He reviewed the major programs and schemes of the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare implemented in the Northeast region. Our correspondent has filed this report.
Secretary of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Mr. Manoj Ahuja, on November 12 reviewed the schemes and programs implemented in the northeastern region. The scheme reviewed are the National Mission on Edible Oil, Oil Palm, National Mission of Edible Oilseeds, Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture, Mission Organic Value Chain Development for Northeastern Region, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, Formation and Promotion of Farmers Producers Organization, National Bamboo Mission and National Beekeeping and Honey Mission. Several senior government officers of the Agriculture and Horticulture and Allied Department from the 8 northeastern states and agencies were present at the review meeting besides other central government officials. Secretary of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Mr. Manoj Ahuja said,
Well, as a country, we are importing a lot of edible oils, specifically palm oil, to meet our domestic needs. Our attempt is to become self-sufficient and grow oil palm within the country. And it has been assessed that the northeastern states are ideally suited for oil palm cultivation. So we have made a specific scheme where there is a tripartite agreement between private companies, Government of India and the state government. So the farmer's interests are protected. Even if the prices go down, he will get a good price for his produce. And we have made arrangements for nurseries, for setting up factories, and then also initially importing the planting materials since all of it is not produced within the country. We do hope that it will lead to increased income and development of this region through oil palm. And this area is reliant on agriculture and horticulture and allied activities. And we are looking at these activities not as standalone but in a value chain approach, right from good quality planting material, and therefore we were discussing about all the institutions in research to make that knowledge available to farmers about good agronomic practices, and then also ensure private sector participation for marketing and ensuring efficiency in the value chains in processing so that the farmer again gets a good return for what he's doing. Agriculture and horticulture activities are the backbone of this region, and by always learning and by looking at your produce in an integrated manner, right from getting good quality seeds to be able to market it. There is a lot of programs available, a lot of schemes available, a lot of institutions which are there in the Northeast region and all over the country which can help in bringing this knowledge together for the benefit of the farmer. Collectively, all the farmers and with all the state governments and the central governments, I am sure with the collective efforts, farmers can benefit and increase their incomes and also increase their produce in a sustainable manner.
Mr. Ahuja, along with his team member, visited Malvan village and interacted with the pineapple growers. They also visited and interacted with the officials of bamboo resource centers. In addition, the team also visited the processing and testing facilities of honey developed under Nagaland Beekeeping and Honey Mission. For Northeast Diary, this is Anuja from AIR News, Kohima.
After a gap of 2 years following the COVID pandemic, the iconic Shillong Wine Festival made a return this year at the capital city. Locally made wine from ginger, mulberry fruit, strawberry, lychee, pineapple, passion fruit, blackberry, plum, banana, and even jackfruit, fermented to produce a variety of wine, were on offer at the festival. We have a report.
The Shillong Wine Festival got a fresh lease of life last week after it was suspended for 2 consecutive years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Locally made wine from locally available fruits was on offer at the festival. Indigenous to a myriad species of fruits and vegetables, Meghalaya can be easily classified as a horticulture state. The 18th edition of the Shillong Wine Festival witnessed a good turnout, with many tasting the variety of local wines set up at Pine Mount Ridge, Shillong. To keep the mood upbeat, the rock band Colours performed at the event to ensure the venue was vibing with good music. This annual one-day event is organized by the Forever Young Sports Club, an organization that aims to promote health and fitness. The club was founded by Michael Siam, who has been at the forefront of demanding legalization of local homemade wine.
Finally, after a break of 2 years, but also after the government has finally legalized winemaking in 2020. Yeah, it feels great because a lot of people have been waiting for this festival. Now, after engaging with different governments for 17 years, finally the government they have legalized it in September 2020 by amending the excise rules. So now we see a lot of people are getting into wine, getting the license and everything. Even after 17 years, the government, they have not included the wine festival as part of the autumn festival, So we're doing it on our own. Sometimes we get help from the government, sometimes, a very small amount. But anyway, since, it's an outlet for the winemakers, so we have to organize this every year. So we are hopeful that next year the government will include the wine festival.
The age-old hobby of winemaking can gradually grow as a cottage industry and then can be commercialized into an industry, which would automatically boost the economy of the state, said one of the organizers. This is Rustam for Northeast Diary from Yaya News, Shillong.
The festival of Labab Dyuchin was celebrated in Sikkim on the 15th of November. Labab Dyuchin is one of the 4 festivals commemorating 4 events in the life of the Buddha, according to Tibetan traditions. We have a report on this.
Labab Dyuchin falls on the 22nd day of the 9th month of the Tibetan calendar. The Buddha's festival is celebrated to observe the descent of Buddha from heaven back to earth. This festival epitomizes in a significant manner the descent of Buddha from the heaven of the 33 gods after visiting his mother. It is universally believed that Lord Buddha, through his spiritual powers, came to know about the whereabouts of his mother, who did not live for a long time after his birth. He ascended to heaven, where he delivered sermons to his mother and other celestial beings. During this period, Buddha's disciple on earth longed to hear his preachings. Buddha relented and descended on earth along a ladder prepared by Lord Vishwakarma. This is considered to be one of 8 great deeds of the Buddha. Labab Dyuchin is a part of Tibetan Buddhist tradition to engage in virtuous activities and prayers. The festival was celebrated across Sikkim with special prayers organized at monasteries. Wishing citizens on the occasion, Sikkim Chief Minister P.S. Tamang said, Labab Dyuchin is one of the 4 important Buddhist festivals celebrating the 4 events in the life of Lord Buddha. It is revered day where we deliberate on the sacred teachings of Lord Buddha and reinforce the importance of following the middle path, Mr. Tamang said. He wished for Sakyamuni Buddha's blessing to encourage all to do virtuous activities and spread compassion for the betterment of Sikkim and Sikkimese people. With Sakit Sarkar, this is Tashang Mubutia for Northeast Diary from AIR News, Sikkim. Mizoram is holding the 10th International Tourism Mart in Aizawl from today.
The 3-day tourism festival extravaganza will continue till the 19th of this month. The event, being sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, will start at Aizawl this evening with participation from tourism experts, from tour and travel organizations, officials from all Northeast states, business and commerce bodies, and dozens of representatives from various countries. Here is a report from our correspondent from Aizawl.
Mizoram is hosting the International Tourism Mart ITM for the first time, and this is the 10th edition of this annual event. With the state government, more particularly the tourism department, is organizing such a gala event for the first time. Excitement and spirit have overwhelmed all of the organizers. In this International Tourism Mart, Union Minister for Tourism and Culture G.K. Reddy, Union Tourism Minister of State Ajay Bhatt, and other Minister of State for Tourism Shripad Naik are scheduled to grace the inaugural function. Also, ambassadors from ASEAN countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Singapore and Myanmar will also grace the ITM Mizoram. The State Tourism Minister Roberto Moyeroite is confident that the ITM 2022 will be a unique and grand event, will showcase tourism attractions of the state and also local cuisine, handlooms, handicrafts, music, sports, fashion, etc. Talking to AIR News, he said,
"We have a number of tourist attractions in Mizoram. In fact, Mizoram is an unexplored paradise, and I would like to invite tour operators, travel agents, and officials, non-officials from overseas, from the mainland India, from Southeast Asia, from Northeast India, to come and experience the unexplored paradise out here in Mizoram. We have lots of greens and virgin forest. Our waters are very clear. Mizoram is said to be one of the top in air purity, and I am sure that the ITM 2022 will be of epoch-making for the development of tourism in Mizoram."
Talking about the tourism attractions of the state to be highlighted, Joint Secretary of Tourism Department Mr. Vilal Engmoya said,
"Mizoram tourism has many products, many attractions such as adventure and eco-adventure tourism, nature-based tourism, culture and heritage tourism, music tourism, sports tourism, fashion tourism, golf tourism, to name a few. One of the most important attractions that we have is Tenzo Golf Course and Resort, which was developed under the scheme Swadesh Darshan under the Ministry of Tourism, along with Rayak Adventure Park and Wellness Center. And there is one important tourist destination in Tenzo. Tenzo itself is a tourist destination in itself because it has lots and lots of attractions such as highest waterfall in Mizoram, we call it Vantong Falls. And another important place in Tenzo is Vaibia. What we call it Vaibia, place of an agreement that was made between British India and the Mizo Chief Bengal way back in 1890s. As we are hosting International Tourism March 2020, I would like to extend one invitation to all of you to visit the state of Mizoram, which is mystical Mizoram, a paradise for everyone.
This annual event, organized in northeastern states annually by rotation, provides a platform for participation of tourism business fraternity and entrepreneurs. Also, it aims to highlight the tourism potential of the northeastern region in the domestic and international markets. For Northeast Diary with Subhashis Chanda, Irene from Aizawl.
Jal Jeevan Mission is bringing smiles to the people of Arunachal Pradesh's remote and interior villages. Here is a report of the successful implementation of the mission in Changlang district. Our Itanagar correspondent has filed this report.
Jal Jeevan Mission is envisioned to provide safe and adequate drinking water through individual household tap connection by 2024 to all households in rural India. In many villages in Arunachal Pradesh, 100% households have already been connected with tap water connection. The Watlom village in Changlang district is one among those. The people of Watlam village are very grateful to the government for making possible drinking water reach their household. The village head of Watlam village, Ralim Kanglom, told that earlier he had to walk a great distance to get drinking water, but now, after getting tapped clean drinking water connection at home, life has become easier.
बहुत प्रॉब्लम ही था पहले में तो अभी तो थोड़ा ये स्कीम आते बहुत ये पानी तो मिल रहा है खुद मिल रहा है घर घर में सबका घर में बस्ती में पूरा मिल रहा है अभी आजकल तो पहले में तो हम लोग जंगल से भी लेते हैं पानी भी बहुत खुद नहीं था इसलिए अभी तो पूरा बस्ती में पूरा घर घर में पूरा मिल रहा है
Likha Tem from the Public Health and Engineering Department says that Watlam village was one of the most water-scarce villages in Changlang district. He says Jal Jeevan Mission has changed the scenario today.
Watlam में हमारा ये जो सेक्शन एरिया में तो सबसे पानी प्रॉब्लम ये बस्ती था तो हम लोग 2019-20 में हम लोग जो JJM स्कीम में जल जीवन मिशन में तो हम लोग काम शुरू किया था तो हम लोग गया साल हम लोग काम कंप्लीट हो गया होकर अभी हम लोग 5 लेइंग सब वगैरह होकर अभी हमारा सब WTP भी काम कर रहा है और उसका बाद हर घर जल FATC बोलता है तो उसको भी हम लोग सब कर लिया अभी 4-5-6-7 महीना ये हो गया हम लोग जो काम कंप्लीट कर जो अभी हर घर में जो मिल रहा है
Just like Watlam village in the remote Indo-Myanmar bordering district, Jal Jeevan Mission is changing and uplifting the standard of life in uncountable villages across the country. Arunachal Pradesh government has announced that it will complete the implementation of the scheme in the state by 2023, a year ahead of the national target. For Northeast Diary, this is Rakesh Dole, Air News, Itanagar.
In this episode, in our Personality of the Week section today, we have an interview with Upang Jameer, who is a fashion model, assistant editor of Northeast Window magazine, and curator for handloom and sustainable fashion. The interview has been conducted by Wabangla.
Once again, listeners, today we're very privileged to have with us Mr. Upang Jameer. He's a fashion model and the assistant editor of the Northeast Window magazine and also one of the curator for handloom and sustainable fashion. So today we're going to discuss with him about so many important topics. But first of all, welcome to our program, Mr. Upang.
Thank you very much for having me here.
To begin with, please share with the listeners why sustainable fashion is important.
So the word sustainable is overused, as we know that every designers or every people who are in this industry, we talk about sustainable always. And it is very cliche to say that, but many of us, we just casually, we don't give it a point that we need to realize our mistakes and also get into the mother nature, which is sustainable. And when I talk about sustainable fashion, it talks about the fabrics that we use and the consumption that we have daily. As a consumer, we are yet to analyze things because the things which are artificially made, like the polyesters and the synthetic fibers, the clothing which is not very friendly to the environment, should not be used at the maximum, as I feel today. We should rather use clothing which are eco-friendly, like cotton, mocha, eri, tasar, all this. And even Nagaland, we have these needle clothes, which is very famously produced by the tribe, Kimungan tribe. And I'm very happy that they are still practicing this beautiful art made from this needle cloth. And this fabric is very hard to find, and it is also widely demanded in the international market as well. So we have a lot of scope, and even cotton, we have a lot of great fertile soil in Nagaland, which is very friendly, even the vegetation as well as topography for cotton plantation. And many of us, we have been hearing stories about our ancestors, our grandparents and grandmas who has worn cotton clothing. And till date, we have some of the amazing hand-woven clothing which has been passed on from generation to generation. Like in the villages, the women folk, they have this meglas and all, right? So I feel that we need to go back to this silk. So silk, we have a lot of scope even here in Nagaland as a consumer today. We need to wake up from our slumber because we are totally polluting our environment. In a very serious way. The waste, the left out clothing, where does it go? It has been just piled up in the dump site. And just imagine, in the statistics of 2016, India alone has already produced so much of industrial waste, especially the garment waste. And according to the statistics of 2016 by UK, we see that they have already dumped around 10,000 units of garbage, which is waste garbage from the textile industry. So just imagine India having a population of 1.3 billion. How much of textile waste we are producing every day? We need to cope up with that as well. We need to really, really understand how we are degrading the soil as well as the environment. So we need to ponder about this sustainable. It is a very overused word, the word sustainable, but today I want to highlight about how we as a consumer, we are making mistakes. And I think when we talk about sustainable again, we should not buy clothing which is not necessary. Sometimes we overbuy, which doesn't make sense. And it is okay to repeat clothing because it is high time that we don't overuse our materials and also the products that is given to us. And we should be rather very grateful to things that we have around us. And when I talk about repeating clothing, it is not about showing off your wealth or something like that, but it is about being concerned as a consumer. Being concerned consumer is the right word, I should say today. And repeating clothing is also not a fashion crime. We can always repeat clothing with different mix-match accessories and stuff like that. And you shouldn't shy that you're repeating the same clothes. You should rather feel privileged that you're saving the environment because you're not overusing the products or the clothing or the things, the stuffs. You are concerned consumer, that is what I would say. So we shouldn't let that away by just overdoing it. As a sustainable curator, I feel like we need to really wake up from our slumber and do our things because even me, I always felt very important about it. So I always repeat clothing. And it is not about being frugal, but it's about the concerns that I have for the environment. So I would like each one of you to understand and look into the matters and act upon it.
So now talking about sustainable fashion, what can our handloom do in this aspect?
So we basically have this gift that has been passed on from generation. Handloom is gift which is something immeasurable to our Naga society, and handloom can be a substitute for the fashion because, as I've said, handloom contains mostly the environment-friendly fabrics that are used, like cotton, the silk, or the needle that I've just mentioned earlier. So if we can incorporate things with the science, because as we all know that the handlooms clothing are a little rough and the textures are a little thicker, but with incorporation with the scientific aspects, with various research done, I think in collaboration is the right word, I feel. So collaboration should be done with science and also the handloom so that we have a friendlier clothing and a fabric which can be used daily wear. And this will help and enhance the market as well, and even our weavers will be definitely benefited through this, and their livelihood will be better. So I think we need to really incorporate and collaborate with the right people. Science should come into this, and creative people needs to wake up. The designers, they are really, some of them are working really hard in this, but there should be genuine setup for executing this so that we have a proper channel where we are creating a space for the designers as well as the weavers and the consumer as well, so that we have an amazing eco relationship, and that will make sense as well for the longer run.
You're also the assistant editor of the Northeast Window magazine, so kindly tell us something about that as well.
Okay. So I've been so much passionate about, writing, because even if I'm a fashion model, I wanted to write, and I always keep a journal. And so I got inspired from Vogue editor-in-chief, Anna Wintour. So she, really bloomed how the Vogue, stood out in the market. Just in a short span of decade, she made it into an amazing reading space for the fashion as well as creative people. And as we all know that Northeast has an abundance of creative people, and I wanted to just highlight about them. And so I got into this magazine in the year 2018, and I really enjoy working and also interviewing the young creative people, from photographer to designer to, entrepreneur from a Northeast region. And people are nonetheless one of the best talented people here. So I think we need to really highlight and really support them, because it's all about giving support to each other, and writing about them makes me really happy. And also I get to travel across the Northeast states. I would like to explore more the things, the natural resources, and also the people, the talented, creative people that we have. And that's the reason why I joined the magazine. And this magazine is also one of the oldest publishing house in Northeast since its inception in 2004. So I'm really privileged to work as an assistant editor of this publication house. And now I'm also more aware and concerned about how the things are over here in this region. And it's so interesting to really work in a space where there's creativity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Opang, for sharing your experiences and the things that you have learned during this pandemic. And you're always a person who is really positive, and it's so contagious. And I hope that, you continue to be as you are right now. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Opang, for your time and for sharing all your information.
Thank you very much for having me here.
And now we have this melodious song from the beautiful state of Sikkim. With that, we have come to the end of this edition of Northeast Diary. Do join us next week to hear more stories from this enchanting part of India. Bye-bye. This program was presented by Anuja Kumar, scripted by Suparna Saikia, produced by Sharmila Goswami, and assisted by Kamlesh Mudgal. It was brought to you by the News Services Division of All India Radio.